Hi, my name is Anish. I'm a rising senior at Blue Valley North High School,
Hi, my name is Anusha. I'm a rising sophomore at Olathe North High School.
and we're both with VPR Patient Outreach Program, and we're tasked with the problem of how to increase webinar attendance.
So, VPR Patient Outreach Program utilizes webinars to connect people with rare diseases to other people with rare diseases to give them a sense of community. An example of this is Michael. Michael has multiple myeloma, and he found out about this diagnosis when he went to the hospital to get his broken neck treated after he went surfing and had an accident. So, people like Michael feel very isolated within their first early stages of diagnosis, especially with the rare disease, because there's not a lot of people like him. So he utilizes things like the Multiple Myeloma Foundation and VPR Patient Outreach to figure out about other people with his rare disease to get a sense of community, and now he's helping people by sharing his story. But don't just take my word for it. The statistics speak for themselves. 600 patient speakers are within VPR Patient Outreach Program today, and 1.5 million people have been reached through their patient-to-patient programs. Empathy work. We conducted our empathy work through interviews and observations. So first we spoke to the head of programming. She gave us an idea of the research questions that she would like answered as our time as interns. And then we also spoke to patient speakers who gave us a consumer viewpoint of how our flyers would be affecting and how our advertisements would be affecting and how we can make them more useful for people attending these webinars. We also went to webinars ourselves. We went to VPR webinars and other ones as well to get a good idea of what the webinar space really looks like and the product that we are selling.
So moving on to the problem. So webinars are basically patient-to-patient Zoom meetings where patient speakers can inform other patients about their disease and give them a sense of community and possibly life-saving treatments. And basically what we saw with the problem of the low engagement with the webinars is that the flyers were really just not accessible and not engaging for older adults and younger adults alike. And so we came up with a solution, and it's just a bullet point right here, but you can really see it in this next slide, the difference between the two. So we cooked up this new improved flyer, and basically you can see the difference between the titles. You can see like this title is a little bit more hard to read, but you can clearly see kidney transplant connector webinar, so you know who it is exactly. You can also see the dates more clearly here, where it says June 28th, 6 p.m. on Zoom, whereas before it was a little bit more green and it's an Arial font. It was really just not very appealing to look at. And we can also see there's a difference in bios, and we saw this from our empathy work and our patient speakers, where we saw that patients actually wanted to know more about the speaker himself, and that's why we added that Richard in this new flyer is like a competitive skier and a father, so we added that bio to make sure that patients are actually more connected to the speakers. And finally, there's a difference in QR code size. The QR codes are much bigger in this improved flyer. And not only that, it's also more accessible for older adults because we also added a phone number and an email option so that older adults also have more accessibility to these registration forms and webinars. Moving on to the timeline.
Timeline. So this week we would meet with our head of marketing, and she would help us outline some flyers. And then next we would collaborate with speakers and writers to figure out good patient bios and take professional pictures for our flyers. After that, we would go through the design process to create beautiful flyers and ones that utilize our empathy work. And then after that, we would launch it onto to all of our network, the VPR network. And then we would send out the invites digitally a week before and a day before, because through our research we figured out that that was the most helpful ones. And then after that we would host a webinar to gauge all of our new patients and consumers.
So our budget for these new improved flyers is basically we first hiring a photographer for higher clarity, higher resolution pictures, which would cost around $175. But we also have two free things that that VPR already has, which is a graphic designer and a writer for these flyers, which we already have. But we would also need a Pro Canvas subscription and a Photoshop subscription to really elevate these webinars to the next level, make them more good looking, have better graphics, sharper edges, pretty much all of that. And then finally, we also have the printing fees, which is around $123, and that comes out to around $658. So
If you have any questions, go ahead and scan the Padlet, and we'd be more than happy to answer them for you.
Thank you.